Hey guys, eyes open in California here. This is like take 100. Okay. This one is going to be titled, Why Was Israel the Promised Land? Right. So let me share my screen. And I've done this so many times, it's just not even funny. Okay. So here is the map of, for all intents and purposes, we'll call this the map of the ancient world. We're not going to worry about what we know as what's considered the Western Hemisphere. We're only going to deal with the ancient world. Okay. So here's Israel. Israel is right here. It's this little sliver of land on the eastern side of the Mediterranean. So you have Italy right here, right? You have India right here, Africa right here. So everybody orientated? Okay, let's get this party started. So Israel was the promised land, right? And there's a geographical figure that's missing from here. And I'm going to add this. There is a mountain range right here with these black mountains that are like volcanic mountains. Like the rock is so jagged, it's like walking on glass, right? So if you were walking through this land, you could not pass through here, right? It was unpassable. These mountains were nasty. Not even the camels could make it over these mountains. It would just cut their feet up to shreds, right? And God designed it this way. This right here was the crisscross of what we would call international commerce, right? If you're doing any kind of trading and you were going by land, let's say you were going from Italy and you wanted to go trade with people in Africa, you would come through here and you would have to go through Israel to get to Africa, right? If you were in India and you wanted to trade with Africa and you did not have a boat, you would have to go through here and then you would go through Israel. It was the only way. You couldn't pass through here and you didn't want to walk through this Persian Gulf area. You didn't walk through Persia. You didn't want to walk through this desert right here, right? Because if water, you can't live very long without water. And when you're going through hundreds of miles of desert, water becomes what is the word called? Um, Water basically dictates what route you're going to take, right? You couldn't carry enough water to cross this desert. This desert was barren, right? And only the native people here, the Shemites from this area here, they knew where the watering holes were. If you were from India, you didn't know how to get through here. You were from China, you didn't know how to traverse this desert, right? So you wouldn't even risk it. You would stay to more moderate climate, right? Where there was more water availability. If you were in Russia and you wanted to trade with Africa, that's what you did. And and I mean, just so on and so on. I mean, you literally could just draw lines all over the place, no matter what, no matter what it was that you were doing, no matter what, you were passing through Israel. And that's the way God designed it. God designed all of this so that Israel was the centerpiece of the known world. Okay. Let me go back here to shapes. I'll put this gold bar back here. So here's Israel. Israel's the gold bar, right? Center of the ancient world. No matter how you went, you had to pass through Israel. You had to. You were completely corridored by these mountains on purpose. And here's the reason why. Because when you're from a different culture and you go walking through all this landscape and then you pass by Israel, right? The very eastern edge of the Mediterranean Sea, This landscape is so beautiful. It is unbelievable. This landscape is just an absolute jewel of the earth. And that's the reason why this was set aside for the Israelites. This is why it was set aside for God's chosen people, because they were to be the beacon of light for the rest of the world. Okay. When you were from Russia and you passed through Israel, and you've seen the landscape and the weather and the people are beautiful. And you pass through this area, you're going to be like, wow, surely these people have found the favor of God. And that was the point. But the point, ooh, getting fuzzies, was so that the Russians would say, I also want to be blessed by the mighty one of Israel. I want to know the God of Israel. And the people from Africa would pass through Israel and be like, wow, God has truly favored these people. I want to be a follower of their God, right? And so on. And that's what it was for. They were to be the example for the rest of the world. And they were going to be the talk of the town, the envy of the whole world, right? That's the reason why they were given this little sliver of land, because this was the intersection for all international land commerce through this area, right? And that's why it's the promised land. So this right here is the spherical Earth model from Google, right? I just want to point something out. This is the UN flag. This UN flag in no way, shape, or form resembles the spherical Earth model. But it does resemble what the Book of Enoch says the Earth is. This is what the Book of Enoch says under the firmament. Right? This is what Enoch says. This is what the Bible says. This is the UN flag, which looks absolutely nothing like this. So, one more time. UN flag, biblical Earth. Right? And in the Book of Enoch, it tells you how the cycles of the sun rotate like this in the different seasons, and it gets bigger and bigger, then it comes back in. And the moon does the same thing. There's a model on YouTube you can watch where they actually have these things moving around. I ain't trying to gossip and you ain't heard nothing from me, but what I'm trying to tell you is this is the UN flag and this is biblical Earth. This, who knows what that is. So anyways, getting back to it, this was the centerpiece of the world. This was the example for the world. Every culture who passed through here would absolutely want to know who is the God of Israel and how can I worship the God of Israel to find as much favor as the Israelites had with God. That's the reason for it. So, all right, guys, eyes open to California here. Hope I helped you. And I really hope that this is my last time I'm shooting this video, but I do like it. Anyways, thank you.